We're back with a story buzzing around the political world today. Is Anthony Weiner making a comeback? Just over a year ago, the former congressman made an admission to the world and apologized for the sexting scandal that made him the target of late-night comedians, and he was forced to resign.
So today I'm announcing my resignation from Congress.
Yeah! Bye-bye, pervert!
So my colleagues can get back to work. My neighbors can choose a new representative. And most importantly, that my wife and I can continue to heal from the damage I have caused.
But today the rumors are flying and Weiner is back all over the headlines. Sources close to Weiner telling the New York Post he's seriously considering running for mayor of New York in next year's election to replace Michael Bloomberg. And with $4.5 million in his campaign account, he has the money to get in. But can he come back? And is the time now? Joining me now is Errol Lewis, host of Inside City Hall on New York One, and Alicia Menendez, the host of HuffPost Live. Thank you both for being here. Let me start with you, Errol. Good to see you. You've covered Weiner a long time. What are you hearing, and is any of this true from what you're hearing?
Well, what we're hearing is that, or what you are just observing, is that he, after over a year of saying almost nothing publicly, popped up on a radio show for an interview, seems to be finding his way into newspapers. And, you know, if you know the reporters and you know the relationship he had with reporters, you have to assume that this is stuff that he either knew about or had a friend or an associate send to these media outlets to sort of get some talk going. And it makes all the sense in the world to sort of take the temperature of the city and see if people are open to a Weiner candidacy.
Alicia, he has $4.5 million in his war chest, and that is as probably more than anyone that is thinking of running for mayor next year, other than maybe Chris Quinn, the local.
There are a few people who are close, but no one has that.
All right. So he would be very formidable in terms of finances. He's got name recognition. Does the scandal eliminate him from being a serious candidate?
I don't think it does. I think even when you look back to the heat of this scandal, New Yorkers were a lot more forgiving than the national media. A lot of them saying they didn't want to see him resign. Two different polls saying they didn't think it was a big deal. Those numbers, though, were different when you asked New Yorkers if they would vote for him for mayor. So we haven't seen polling since then. I think we will very soon see his name be floated. I don't think the question, though, is whether or not it's too soon for New Yorkers. I think it's whether or not it's too soon for him. In order to make a comeback, you actually have to go away for a little bit, and I don't think he's done that just yet.
Now, Errol, it's interesting when I mentioned he has $4.5 million. What's interesting is that he'd be eligible for $1.5 million in public matching funds if he ran for any citywide position that opens up through 2013, but he will lose it if his decision is not made before 2013.
Exactly.
So there's a money motive in this for him to go now.
Some of the speculation that was reported is that money's maybe burning a hole in his pocket. That, yeah, you could give up not just the money, but also a chance. This is the first time this seat has been open in a decade. There hasn't been anybody running for mayor. No incumbent running for mayor since 2001. So he doesn't want to miss out on that opportunity. There is that financial motive that you just mentioned. And, yeah, he is in second place. I mean, Christine Quinn, the Speaker of the City Council, has about $5 million, and he has about $4.5. If he gets to the maximum, which several candidates could do, he has financially as good a chance as anyone else. And one thing that's worth noting, I mean, Alicia is right, that there's this question about whether or not this is the right office for him. The mayor appoints the head of the school system in New York City now. Right. And that makes what he got involved in a little bit different. And, you know, as a father, I think you understand what I'm talking about. It has a whole different coloration to it when you think about, is this somebody that you want sort of in charge of 1 million school kids?
Now, he's given his first interview since resigning on WNYC Brian Lair's show. and he addressed the scandal. Listen to this, Alicia.
I still have regrets. I paid a very high price, but I'm still committed to the same things I was, and I have a 6-month-old that I have to go and feed now. As I've said, when I resigned, I feel great regret for the people that I let down.
Now, he sounds contrite, but he's not saying much more than what he's already said. I know Weiner, not hangout buddies, but I've known and dealt with him down through the years. Very ambitious, very much ahead, no reverse in his transmission, is full ahead. And I think that he's the kind of guy that I don't know that he could get politics out of his blood.
Right. No, we're all political junkies, so we can appreciate and understand this. And I think Errol is absolutely right. In as much as he's considering a run, he's also really excited to have his name back in the mix. He wants his name to be floated. He wants his name to be relevant. There's a reason not only that he's talking about running or floating that idea to the press, but also that he's doing all of these press interviews. And I think ultimately it will be a very personal choice that he has to make. There are some systematic challenges. A lot of the people who've worked with him in the past have already committed to other campaigns. As you noted, there are people in the race who are already doing quite well, so complicated field.
But, I mean, when you look at this, Earl, nationally, people around the country, and especially on the left or center, miss his voice. He was a very strong voice, a very aggressive voice in the Congress. And this whole debate around health care and all, people missed his voice. So though he would be running for a local office, nationally, the perception is that you've got people that did a lot worse that came back, and that there's no actual physical interplay here.
There's, in fact, he's got 68,000 Twitter followers and a national network you just alluded to that could probably help him in a lot of different ways. One interesting thing, though, your national audience should know is that for a New York City Democrat, locally at home, he was a centrist Democrat. You know, when he talked about public spending, when he talked about various policies for policing and everything else, he fell pretty much in the middle, one could almost say right of center, among Democrats running for local office.
He was a local centrist and a national progressive, no doubt about it. Well, we'll watch what happens. Errol Lewis and Alicia Menendez, thank you both for your time.
Thank you.
40 years ago, Nixon broke with his party and went to China. Would any Republican leader show that same kind of independence today? That's next.